guys, it's Blush Cameron here with a new episode of my new podcast. What you just heard was a clip from my new single called Ribbons on the Cuffs. You can listen to it wherever you want. I'm going to keep the intro pretty short. Today I'm talking to my friend Haley, also known as Absinthe Father. I think we had a really great conversation about everything from drug abuse and sobriety to learning to play music as an adult, to making a living selling vintage band shirts. And of course, we talked about all their new music and their new projects. So if you're not familiar with their music already, go check it out on whichever streaming service you prefer, and give them a follow on social media. Just Absinthe Father. Search that on whatever platform you also prefer. One more thing to note is that the audio quality changes after a few minutes because they had to switch from their phone to their iPad. So I apologize. I think you can get used to it, or at least I did when I was listening back to it. I got used to it. So sorry, I'm still figuring out how to do this thing the right way. Okay, thanks for listening. Here's the episode. What are you up to today?
I got a new amp this morning.
Whoa, cool.
In Delaware. I'm so excited.
What kind of amp?
It's a 1973 Trainer Mark III.
Whoa, I don't even know what that is. I'm like so not a gearhead, but
I go through phases where because for the past 2 years, so I started playing music 3 years ago. Like I never touched a guitar until then. And the first amp I ever got was like this PV Chorus, which I loved. But then maybe 2 months after, I got a JC120, like a 1979 JC120, and
wow.
I've never needed anything else. I got it for $200 off of Craigslist.
What?
The dude,
because I know that amp, I'm pretty sure.
The
and that's
plug
like a good
wasn't
one,
grounded.
Right?
Oh yeah, it's amazing, and like especially the ones from the 70s and 80s, like they're lauded over. But the plug wasn't grounded, so he sold it to me for super cheap, and I just soldered on a new plug, so it works perfectly. But I like to get that one serviced like every 6 months because there's not a lot of people I trust with it. I like to go to a specific place like 45 minutes away, and they have to like order parts because it's so old. So if I turn it in to get serviced, I don't have an amp in the meantime. So I was like in the kind of market for a new amp for the past year because I tour so much, and then quarantine happened, and I'm just like, well, all I do is play music anyway. I might as well go get a new amp. So I did it, and I'm really excited.
That's sweet. I just have a Fender Hot Rod Deluxe, I think. I don't... Yeah. I like how mine like looks aesthetically, but I'm not super keen on how it sounds. But the other thing, that keeps me from being a gearhead is I pretty much always play this sounds crazy, but I always play acoustic electric.
That doesn't sound crazy.
When I'm writing, I just play my acoustic not plugged into anything.
That's what I do.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's how I write. I can't write plugged in. It sounds weird.
Yeah, huh. I thought I was the only person that did that, because I know of people writing on a regular acoustic guitar, but yeah, I don't like being loud when I'm just like playing by myself. I like to be quiet and inward.
I feel the same way, and like I don't know, I feel like that. I mean, everybody has their own process, but for me, like it starts with like an emotion, and that emotion can't be captured if it's loud. I don't know why. It's kind of like when you're driving and like you smell something, or you're like, I don't know, something else is happening. You're trying to like see further in the road, or like you pass by a gas plant and you're like, I don't know, you smell something and you turn the radio down so you can like hear or see or smell better. I don't know why I do it, But it's the same thing with writing music. It's like if it's already loud, I can't feel it. I don't know.
Absolutely. Yes, I completely agree. It's like, yeah, it's too much like auditory. I can't think, you know?
Yeah, I feel the same way. So that's funny. Lately I write like out loud acoustic like sometimes, but lately I've been plugging into like my interface with my acoustic with headphones on, and like I like it to be like real controlled.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been fun for me too. But I don't know. This past month, like I was in North Carolina and my parents have these really pretty wind chimes on their deck. And I was like just playing music outside and the wind would blow and the wind chimes were in the background. And I was like, damn.
Wow, that rocks.
This is amazing. Yeah.
Are they from, you said South Carolina?
North Carolina. Yeah. I grew up there. I was born and raised in Durham, North Carolina. So I was down there, and then when my grandpa had been sick for a really long time, and when he got sick, he decided that him and his wife, my grandma, and then my aunt and my dad, they all wanted to go in on this lake house. I grew up like kind of going to a lake. We had like a really shitty dock, but no house or anything. So we'd go up for a day and then come back down to Durham. It's like an hour away. And when he got sick, he was like, let's build a house for everybody to like kind of, you know, be at. Cause my cousins live in Malvern, Pennsylvania, which is like right outside of Philly. And then obviously my parents and my grandparents both lived in North Carolina. So they built this house and I got to spend some time there. I did some housework. I mean, I got to see all the sunrises and sunsets on the lake. It was so peaceful.
Wow, that's awesome.
Very grateful for that.
We just went to New Jersey, like Millville, New Jersey. We went swimming yesterday.
That's cool. Is there like a swimming hole, or was it like a lake?
Yeah, it was like a blue hole, quote unquote.
That's the best.
Is that like a thing? How long have you been in Philly?
I've been in Philly for 2 years now. Yeah, I just renewed my lease for, I guess it's like the second time renewing, but the third time I've signed the lease in the place I live in.
And were you in North Carolina up until then?
No, so I moved. I left North Carolina. I went to school in Granville, Ohio. I went to Denison.
Okay.
And then that's like 40 minutes outside of Columbus. And when I graduated, I stayed in Columbus for like 2 years, and then I moved out here.
So I guess that's how you know like all those Michigan people then.
So I dated someone that lived in Ypsilanti. So when I graduated, so I would go up there like Wednesday through Sunday, pretty much every week that I could. I did work a lot, so sometimes I couldn't get up there for a couple weeks, but I spent a lot of time there. And he was in a band called Swordfish, which was so Kyle, he's the best person ever.
Oh yeah, I know Kyle. Yeah, Swordfish. Yeah, that was like a emo.
Yeah.
How would you describe it?
I would say Midwest emo. Yeah. Everyone looks at me like I don't know, like an aficionado on genre, and I have no idea what anything is ever.
Well, I mean, you know a lot of, maybe not a genre, maybe not knowing a lot in terms of genre, but you know a lot of music.
Yeah, I do. I mean, all I do is listen or play music all day, every day, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. But with genre, I've never been someone who likes to describe things as in a genre. I'd rather describe like a feeling that it emotes, go ahead.
Whether it fucks or not.
Oh no, I hate that. We'll get to that later.
Okay, great.
But no, I like texture. So if you listen to my music, I try to weave different textures together, and it doesn't necessarily fit into anything. And I feel like when I hear something, it's the same thing. It feels like a warm day, driving on the interstate, no other cars around, windows down, music up. Or I'll be like, it sounds like this band and this band had a baby that grew up listening to this band.
Yeah, for sure.
And
yeah.
I feel like that's a little bit more descriptive, because genre can be very, it just feels like a box, and I don't ever want to be placed in a box.
I mean, it sometimes describes the scene or like the type of, like, it's not even necessarily the sound sometimes.
Yeah, that's very true.
But, it's all nuanced, but I think that's a good way to do it. And isn't Spotify that's how Spotify kind of does it sometimes, right? Like, where they've talked about like describing music as a sunny day music or something.
If they do that, I might like them a little bit more than I do. But I mean, Spotify has like a lot of perks. My Discover Weekly lately has been very, very good. So shout out, I guess.
Nice. But also shout out to Spotify.
But also pay us more, please. Thank you.
Yeah, pay us more, and particularly if you want my podcast on your service. Well, it's already on your service, but if you want a deal like the Joe Rogan thing, you can definitely. I'm open to doing that, an exclusivity deal.
Please pay us all your money. Thank you. If you were the only podcast on Spotify, oh, you'd be so rich.
So how is like the are you like being like super affected by this quarantine in terms of, because you were like paying rent off of touring, right?
Yeah.
What's happening?
So I like less than a year into playing music, I quit my job, which was like very dumb, but also the smartest and best thing I've ever done for myself ever. So I have not been employed by anyone but myself, technically, for over 2 years now, since May of 2018, which is nuts, because later in 2018, I did not have a home. I was living in my car, and my grandmother had stage 4 esophageal cancer, and I was like sleeping in the hospital. And then when she passed away, I didn't really have anywhere to go, which prompted me to figure out where I needed to move. And luckily I had my car, so I was able to sleep in it. But a lot of people helped me out in that time. And I don't know. I decided I was going to go on this 45-day tour, and I was already sleeping in my car. So I was like, whatever, I'll just go on tour. I can sleep in my car. I'll just be in a different city every night and hopefully make like $30 a night, whatever. And it was the coolest tour I've ever done.
Wow.
And I made enough money to move to Philly, which was cool.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was nuts. And like the first album I put out, I think I put it out on my birthday in May, a couple months before all this happened. And that kind of blew up right around that time. And a lot of people I can't even name the people that have helped me out, because it's just innumerable. But somehow they connected with the record, which is one of the most, there's no word for it, but it's the best feeling ever to have somebody just relate to something. And I didn't have any production. Like I recorded in my basement on like a $4 Tascam recorder.
Are you talking about Good Enough?
Good Enough, yeah. And I did some other stuff before that, like just iPhone notes or like GarageBand demos, but I didn't know what I was doing. And I still didn't know what I was doing when I recorded that. But I sat in my basement the day I quit my job, and I recorded all of it in 24 hours. And then I just released it, I think at 1 p.m. the next day. And it just really took off. So from like May to when I moved to Philly in September, I was just living off of money I made from that album and then that tour, which was pretty incredible. Yeah, I don't know how it all worked out, but so
what are you doing now during the pandemic? How are you getting by?
So I've been selling t-shirts on eBay for the past year or so, maybe a little bit longer. I love vintage clothing, like a lot of people do. And when I had two trash bags of clothing when I moved to Philadelphia, and then my amp and my guitar, and that's it. So it's nuts.
I wish that was me.
Well, you do, but then you realize I don't have enough money to do laundry, and all I have is this 2 trash bags worth of clothes. And I didn't have a mattress, so I was sleeping on my trash bags, which was annoying. But over time, like somehow I'm looking around my room now, and I have been able to like go. I thrift a lot. I've been thrifting since I was a kid, and there's things that I just luckily held on to and had in those trash bags that I, over the past year, have gone through. And I mean, I sold a Motley Crue t-shirt that I got when I was probably 12, 13 years old for like $400 on eBay the other day. Yeah. So it's wild to realize that I've been sitting on those things that could have helped a lot, but also it happened in the right time because I held on to it until pretty recently. I don't know how I would have been able to get by the pandemic if I didn't have those things. So, and then once you get some cash from that kind of stuff, you can buy more clothes and then sell it for more. And it's all capitalism and it all sucks. But if you do it in an ethical way, if you're not going into like a thrift store and then selling something out for $4 to somebody who doesn't have money like that for $100, then as long as you're not doing that, then I think it's okay.
Hell, it sure beats, having a boss at like a restaurant job or something. I'd way rather do that, I think.
Yeah, and that's what I did before. I've been in the service industry for forever. One of my first jobs was at Blue Olive in Durham, North Carolina. You should go. It's an amazing place. It's a Greek restaurant. And I waited tables there until I left North Carolina. And then I worked at this Italian restaurant in Columbus. And that's all I did. But I wanted to not do that anymore, to say the least. It's soul sucking.
I've been looking at on Depop lately because I want to get like a corduroy jacket. So I've been like just keeping my eye on there, and I'll see some like kind of crazy stuff that these Zoomers are putting up, like somebody was selling some Costco pants for like $70, and somebody else was selling like a Wendy's like a shift worker type of t-shirt, like a Wendy's employee t-shirt. I was trying to sell that for like $40 or something. It's like, what are you guys thinking?
Ridiculous. And I mean, and this is like definitely a thing in the culture and like the time that you and I live in. Unfortunately, people like to, and this is how it's always been, profit off of the aesthetics of poor people. Yeah. And it's pretty disgusting. And that's like always been my qualm with thrifting and doing vintage resale. It's just I only sell band t-shirts, so I'm not going to buy like Levi's that somebody could, use to work in. Like I feel like and maybe I'm excusing myself, maybe I need to reevaluate, but that whole thing, the Wendy's shirt especially, it's just like, are you serious?
No, yeah, that makes sense to me. No one's like, I mean, even just from like a fashion standpoint, who's gonna wear a Wendy's shirt like that?
People do. All the like hype beast kids. I don't know why they like. For some reason, they buy these things that look like they could be, $4 or $5, and they should be, and they buy them for like hundreds of dollars. I was watching. Unfortunately, I don't have TikTok, thank God, but people put TikToks on my Twitter timeline all the time. Uh-huh. And there was one that was like, this person was just wearing like head to toe gray, and it looked like a sweatpants, like sweat tank top kind of thing, and like some beater shoes. And they were like, yeah, my outfit costs like $3,000. It's like, that's not the flex you think it is. Like, that's embarrassing. I can't stand it.
Well, let me know if you see like a black corduroy jacket out there, like size M for a male.
Size M. Do you want like a trucker jacket? Because I can definitely find it.
Maybe.
Like one of the ones that are like a little bit more square and cropped right at the waist, or do you want one like oversized?
When
we get off,
I'll send you.
Text me pictures.
Yeah, I'll send you a picture later.
Yeah, I got you.
I don't really know like where to start. We've already touched on a little bit, but like since you started playing music as an adult, I don't know like if we should really like usually I like to start like way at the beginning to contextualize how people got to where they are musically. And most people that I talk to like start playing guitar when they're like a tween, you know? So,
Yeah.
I mean, you're the first person. So it's interesting in this way, but you're the first person that started an adult, but it's just also made it feel more convoluted in my mind. I don't know what kind of like upbringing in teenage years did you have? Weren't you a sports person?
Consider myself a jock, to be honest. But yeah, I played college volleyball and I swam. And I mean, I did sports my whole life. My parents and my grandparents are all big sports people. My grandpa, Tom Butters, he hired Coach K, if you know who that is, at Duke, big basketball guy, because my grandfather was athletic director there. And before that, he pitched for the Pirates. Like he's the start of our athletic family. And then my dad was always into sports. He played basketball at Ohio Wesleyan, which was my rival school actually. And my mom played tennis. My sister swam and played tennis. My brother played basketball. He's a basketball coach at Charleston Southern. We've just been a whole sports family my whole life.
Wow.
But growing up for me was a little bit different than my siblings. I think a lot of people who are musicians can relate to the whole feeling like a black sheep in your family kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that was definitely my experience. I started doing drugs and drinking at a really young age. I was like 12, and somehow I look back and I'm just like, how did I hold everything together? I had like 17 different lives constructed that I was living and just trying to balance. And like, I would wake up in the morning, skip my first period and go do heroin with my friend Nick. And then I'd go to class for the rest of the day. And then I'd go to volleyball practice. Like that was a normal high school day for me, which is insane. And I mean, I was so good at hiding it. My parents didn't know until like I got to college that I had a problem. And I never really hung out with people at my high school unless I was like using or if I was drinking or going to a party. It was just, I don't know. I had my hand in so many different pots that like nobody really knew who I was.
Had you like discovered alternative music at that time, or was it purely just like sports and drugs and skipping class?
I was dating someone 4 years older than me at the time, and which is a whole another thing. But he had a house like that he would run shows at. That was my first experience was with like house shows and stuff and DIY, and it was mostly like hardcore and metalcore and like stuff like that. That not a lot of people that I was friends with were into, but I liked it because I was dating this person I thought I had to. Mm-hmm. And then I've always been into music. My mom loves music and would always take me to FYE, and we'd like sit there with the headphones on listening to different CDs that were available. And I don't know, I've always been music adjacent. Mm-hmm. And I started helping my boyfriend at the time like book better acts that I wanted to see, but he never like really let me be involved the way that I wanted to. So I just kind of, I had one foot into everything, like sports, music, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then I got to college and I just like, I don't even know what I started listening to in college. Because up until that point, it was like pop country, bad hardcore and metalcore, and then 90s radio hits pretty much. And then I got into like EDM my freshman year in high school or in college, which was a time. And then I met my best friend, or who would become my best friend in college, and she introduced me to like Foxing and the Hotelier and more, emo, I guess, bands like that. And I don't know, I feel like a lot of people can also relate to this. Like my tastes are this melting pot of things that I've like kind of almost gotten super into my whole life. So now I listen to everything all the time. I don't even know what to call my music taste.
Were you online very much, or was this all kind of stuff that was really just kind of word of mouth or like shown to you through other people?
I never really got into like, I had a Twitter, but it was like I would just tweet about like getting drunk at a party in college, or, oh, I have to go to practice or something like that. I was never involved with music Twitter. I didn't really, I'm trying to think of, like, my Instagram, like, if you scroll all the way back to my Instagram, it's just pictures of, like, basketball games and sunsets. Like, it's nothing music related whatsoever. And I didn't know I think it's called Chorus FM now. I don't even know what it was called before, but I didn't know what that was until like last year. I never got into Reddit or anything like that. So everything that I was listening to were things that my friends would be listening to, and I'd be like, oh, I like this. I'm going to get more into this. I never really forged my own music taste until, I would say, my senior year in college, because I was just really honestly desperate for people to like me and to fit in places, because I never really felt like I had a place because I was so spread out everywhere. Mm-hmm. I would just like, oh, this person that I think is cool likes this, I'm going to get into it. Mm-hmm. And, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I know people still do that now, and I think that's completely valid. That's how you can figure out what you like and don't like. But for me, it was like, if this person enjoys this, I have to enjoy this.
Do you feel like you had like an identity as a kid, or like do you feel like the drugs were like a side effect of not having that, or like did they play into that at all?
For me, it's interesting. I never felt like I had an identity until I got clean. I got clean October 6th of 2018. And like up until that point, I just felt like whoever I was depended on whoever I was around. I was kind of like a chameleon. So I don't know. It was just that, I guess for me, drugs were a way for people to be excited that I was there. Like if I showed up and I had something, people would be excited to see me. And that's not real friendship, obviously. Like I can sit here and look back and know that now. And now people get genuinely excited to see me because of what I have to offer them, not drugs, not sex, not like anything like that, just purely because of who I am, which is a beautiful thing. I think I've changed. I mean, I've done a whole 360 or 180, whatever that phrase is.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of like, I think we knew each other like briefly before you got clean, and I want to say that there is like a noticeable difference in just like your attitude and like kind of like down to earthness,
because I'm not tense anymore. Like I don't feel, and I mean, obviously I still get nervous to talk to new people. I have anxiety, but there's nothing in me that says this person is only going to like me if I behave in this way, which is how I felt my entire life. Like I always was so worried about saying the right things or like being aligned with the right people. And now I've formed my own identity. And I just never thought that I'd be able to do that. So I think the people that knew me before, which honestly are not a lot of people, I look back at the person that I was and I wouldn't want to be friends with me. So I didn't really keep a lot of friends from the time that I was using. The only people that I really keep in contact with are like my old roommates who played in a band called Queer Kevin. Like Felix is my biggest fan and they always tell me how different I am. Like I've changed so much, but I wish that like my friends now knew who I was then, just to see like how different I was sometimes. But at the same time, I'm like, oh, thank God you didn't know me, because we wouldn't be friends at all.
Well, I mean, while we're here, congrats. You've done a great job.
People are so weird about sobriety and like getting clean, but yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful thing, but I don't know. I learned from the people who got clean before me. They told me what to do and I did it. So here we are.
Was it like a struggle to like get clean? Did you have to say like, okay, I'm quitting like right now? Or did it something eventually kind of click for you? Like, I don't want to do it anymore? Or like, how was it like getting over that initial kind of like realization that you need to get clean?
I actually just talked about this on another podcast called High Notes, which I'm really excited to be a part of. I'm excited about to come out. But For me, I tried to get clean so many times before I actually did. I go to 12-step program now. And that has been my savior. But before, I would, especially in high school, like I'd be like, okay, I'm not gonna do heroin, I'm only gonna drink. And then I'd be like, I'm not gonna drink, I'm only gonna smoke weed. And then I'd be like, okay, I'm not gonna do anything, but I'll roll like every weekend. Like any sort of substitution I'd go through, just, trying to find what worked for me. But the reality of drugs for me as an addict, which I didn't know I was an addict until this last time that I got clean, is that there's no way to use drugs successfully for me. Mm-hmm. Like I can't have a casual beer. I can't just sit in front of the TV and smoke weed before I go to bed. That's not the kind of person that I am. I'll be up all night smoking, and then I'll do something else, and then I'll do something else. And it always led to the same thing. And it wasn't so much as like a bottom thing happening. We always talk about like you hit your bottom, but it's the feeling that I felt when I got there. And I didn't feel that feeling as deeply as I needed to until October 5th, the day before my clean date, or I guess October 4th, the 4th and 5th. It was my sister's wedding. And my sister and I have always had a weird relationship, but we just like had a little altercation, and I just said, okay, whatever. I had probably like 3 months, quote unquote, clean. I was still smoking weed at that time. And I was just like, whatever, I'm just going to get really drunk. And I got super drunk, and I said a bunch of stuff I didn't want to say to people that I didn't know. And I didn't ruin her wedding, but I definitely impacted her on a day that I should not have needed to be the spotlight the way that I did that weekend. So the next day I flew back to Philly, and I confided in my now roommate, but at the time she was just a mutual friend of my friend Doug. And yeah, she was like, do you want to come to a meeting with me? And I was like, I mean, no, not really. But she kind of drugged me to it, and I went and I sat there. And the moment I walked in the door, I knew that that's where I needed to be. I saw across the room my friend Rob, who was actually the first person I had ever talked to about my experience with addiction, like 2 years before, because he played a show at my house in Columbus. And I was like, okay, if that's not some cosmic, can I say shit? Cosmic shit. Okay. If that's not some cosmic shit, I don't know what is. So I stuck around and I stayed, and I don't know what made it work this time. I don't know if it's the program. I don't know if it's the difference in where I was in my life, whether that's geographically, mentally, or emotionally. I have no idea, but I'm really grateful for it, because since that day, I've never thought about using again.
Yeah, there's so many factors.
Yeah.
At what point did you decide to start actually playing music, and did getting clean affect your songwriting before and after?
Yeah, so I decided to start playing. I think it was 2017, probably in the summer. And then I started dating Kyle, like we were talking about earlier, and I remember the first thing I ever recorded was Graveyard, which I can't believe. I listened to it the other day. I was like, oh my God, this is something. But I recorded all of that on my phone with his guitar not plugged in. He played this old telly while I was laying on his bed, and I just recorded it all on my phone. And then I was like, okay, this is good enough. I messed around with the settings on GarageBand on my phone, and I was like, okay, I'll put it up. And I put it up. And that was the first thing I ever put up. And then I did a couple other things. I think I did some covers, and then that thing with Ness Lake, that split, which was cool. Mm-hmm. But I think the time that I really decided that I was going to start playing was when this guy in Columbus had listened to the stuff that I put up and told me that I wasn't good enough.
Oh, God.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Like, I mean, yeah, that sucks to hear, but you know what? Like, that stuff, it is because any art that you create is so worthwhile. Like, I will say that with my dying breath, but it pushed me where I needed to go because I was like, oh, you don't think I'm good enough? I'll show you good enough.
Yeah.
And like, I remember after I put it, and that's what good enough, like the album name comes from, after I put that out, and he saw, because you can see the supporters on Bandcamp when you can look at all like the little different icons. He was like, how did you do this? And I was like, you made me do it. Like, and not in a malicious way. I'm truly thankful for it, because if he hadn't have said that, I probably would have just, stayed the same forever, playing the same couple of chords, not pushing myself. But instead I was like, yeah, I'm going to push myself and do it. And I was running a house in Columbus at the time, and it was pretty much me and one or two other houses, and I never saw any bands that didn't have all men lineups, which is totally fine. Like, I will go to a show that has all men and not even think anything of it, because I just don't really think about it, to be honest. But at the time, I was like, I don't see anybody that looks like me. Like, I don't think that I can do this. And that, coupled with my ex-boyfriend from middle and high school telling me that, like, I couldn't be involved with things, that was like, okay, how do I create something for me, forge a place for myself, and also make sure that other people who look like me can do it too? And that's kind of where everything changed for me. So that was like around the May, around that time in 2018, early 2018 to mid 2018. And then after I got clean, I think that I got so much better. Like, I think you can hear the difference between Good Enough and Jane. Yeah. And then Jane with the next album, because the next album is actually going to be recorded not by me in my kitchen or my basement. But the difference is so palpable, because I just became clear of mind, and all of the emotions that I had been suppressing with drugs and alcohol, I was able to write about in a way that was more of a feeling than anything. I don't even know how to explain it. It's just when you try to push things down so much for so long, they just bottle up. And then when I wrote Jane, I wrote it in like 3 days, and I wrote it at my kitchen table. And I ended up journaling like everything that had happened from May to, I think I released that in October, maybe November. I can't even remember. But right around that time period, I had written all of this stuff in a journal and crafted the lyrics through that. And it just all just kind of came out. It just exploded. And I don't know. And since then, I've gotten so much better too. It's been wonderful.
Because I was going to ask, one of my questions was, how do you write a song? It sounds like they just kind of come out. Are you thinking about it when you, like, are you thinking about how you want it to sound, or like what kind of structure you want it to have? Like, what's the process for you there?
I've never had a process, which is it's so silly. I kind of envy people who are like, okay, I want to write a song that sounds like this, and it's going to have, part A, part B, part C, part A, part B. And then, I don't know, I've never been that way. I think every song I've ever written, I've like sat down and written in the span of a couple hours.
That's cool.
Which I know it's a little different than I think a lot of people, or maybe it's not. Maybe I'm not as unique as I think I am. That's ego talking probably, but I don't hear a lot of people writing that way. I never have lyrics written. I never think like, okay, I'm going to do this. I just kind of sit down with my guitar. I usually play first and get a, some sort of guitar part that I like down, and then I'll just sing random stuff over it and see if it fits, just like things that I'm feeling. And if it fits, cool. If it doesn't, I'll move on to the next thing. So.
Yeah, I kind of am like that, I suppose. I think I'm a little bit of like a combination. Like, first of all, I think about like what I'm feeling, or like what kind of feeling I want to express. And then I pick up the guitar and start like finding kind of chords that sound reasonable for that feeling. And like, then I start kind of riffing the vocal like gibberish over top, and then think about the next part. Though I think after that, at that point, I start thinking about like the structure of the song. But I think, I mean, it sounds like your way of doing things is like a really what's the word, like direct to the emotional core of the song, which I think resonates for your audience.
Yeah, I think so. I think that for me, the only thing that I want is to be as honest and organic with my music as possible. So whatever I'm feeling at that time, if it comes out, then I like, that's just where I am at that time. And I think that for me with music, it's what draws me is not the lyricism. I mean, some obviously like these are things that I care about. Like I listen to a lyric and I'm like, oh, that's a sick lyric, or like, oh, that's a cool riff. But for me, it's like if I listen to something, it makes me feel some sort of way, and realizing that the way that I feel and the way that the person who wrote it felt at that time are probably pretty similar. It just feels like you connect so hard. And I want that with my listeners. It's not so much of like, oh, like I don't write party music, which is super cool. Like I love music that just makes you feel good. But again, that's a feeling. It doesn't have anything to do with the actual music.
Right, for sure. That's real. Like I kind of like am not looking for like an emotional response all the time from music. It's sometimes what I really like is just like getting amped up by it, and like it can be any type of song. Like it doesn't have to be a party song. It can also be a downer song. Sometimes there's just something about it hits right,
When you're like, you realize that you're nodding your head in a certain way, and you're like, oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. And that's why different genres of music exist. Like I'm not going to feel the same way listening to my music as I am to like when I listen to black metal, or when I listen to hardcore, or when I listen to indie rock. It's all different, but
yeah,
at the core we're all connected to something, and that thing I think is the emotion behind it.
For sure. But that's a good point, though. I want to talk about like your hardcore bands, but let's just finish off with the Absinthe father trajectory. Like, at what point did you see people like actually starting to listen to your music? I mean, I know that Good Enough, like you really, I feel like found your audience in a way, but like when and why do you think people started to pay attention?
Oh gosh, I honestly don't even know. I feel like maybe around Jane was when people really started paying attention. I got some like, I don't even know how. I don't know how it reached the people that it did, but it reached some people that I look up to music wise. And that was cool to me. Yeah, I honestly don't know why things work out the way that they have, but I would say probably right around Jane. So was that 2018?
Yeah, October.
Time is a flat circle like the earth. Like quarantine especially has made me lose track of everything.
Dude, time is like sped way up for me in quarantine. It's like really scary. It was already going really fast as an adult, but
yeah. It's weird. But yeah, so I guess October of 2018 was really when I saw things kind of pick up, and I did that tour. I brought a band called Jail Socks from Charlotte, North Carolina on tour, and I love them so much.
Yeah, I want to talk to those guys, but I don't know them personally. I like their music.
Yeah, they're awesome. They're all great people. I really should keep in contact with them better than I have, but like we just kind of, every couple of months we'll send each other memes. Or like, Coleman loves Blink-182, so I've never listened to Blink-182 before, and nobody believes me when I say that, but I literally haven't. I can recognize like two songs, the whatever, I don't know. But I've never listened to Blink-182, so anytime I see something Blink-182 related, I'll send it to him. And then I introduced Aiden to Third Eye Blind, which is my probably my favorite band of all time, if not my second favorite band of all time. But they love Third Eye Blind now. So we'll talk about Stephen Jenkins sometimes. And then, I don't know, they're all really great.
That's an important introduction there.
What, the Third Eye Blind?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did not want to listen to it. Like, they were very resistant. And then finally, after tour, they did. And I was like, yeah, that's right. And they have the best opinions on it now, too. We both think Out of the Vein is superior, which it is.
Wow. I mean, I'm only really familiar with the self-titled and what was it, Blue? The one with Never Let You Go.
Yeah, you should listen to Out of the Vein. I think it's their best for sure.
Have you heard their new stuff?
Yeah, I have. I'm still trying to get the newer album to grow on me. I really liked the covers album from I guess I think it was 2018. They covered Blood Bank by Bon Iver, which is sick. But I think that their prime is Out of the Vein. I would rank it Out of the Vein, self-titled, Blue, Ursa Major, and then everything else. Actually, Red Star, like there's an EP called Red Star, which is really good. But anyway, I digress.
I didn't know about that.
Oh, there's so much. I'll make you a little playlist.
I'm interested in Red Star and Out of the Vein, so I'll remember that later.
Well, but yeah, I took Trail Socks on tour right around that time. I think it was November and December of 2018. So right after I got clean. I probably shouldn't have gone on that tour during that time. I remember my sponsor being like, "What are you doing?" But I did it and I stayed clean, which is cool. And I think that one was an eye-opener for me because the first couple of shows for us were like 100 people came, which is wild because every show I'd ever played before was like maybe 15 people would come. So that was really, really neat. And obviously on that tour there were some where it's like, okay, 5 people came tonight, 30 people came the next night. Like it all varied. But the first week or two, I remember in Minneapolis, like Remo Drive opened for us. Like it was weird. It was weird, but it was like they did like a secret opener, and I was just like what the heck? But I found they were like, yeah, we really want to open this show. I'm like, what? Like why?
That's crazy. Do you think do you think This Band Fucks had anything to do with that in terms of like getting yourself out there? And also, what was This Band Fucks for people who don't know?
Okay, I do think it helped. I mean, it's impossible to say that it didn't. I started This Band Fucks on 420 of 2018 as a 420 joke because I was on a tour with my roommates at the time, Queer Kevin, and we were in Massachusetts. They played Flywheel for some festival. I can't remember at this point, but I just wanted to create the account and be like, Queer Kevin fucks, because we were talking about how you can take any object and add an S to it, and like slaps or I don't know. I mean, any object, and just put an S on the end of it and be like, this band blanks. And I just said, This Band Fucks, and everybody started laughing. I think we were really stoned at the time. I mean, Dylan was smoking weed out of a chicken nugget. So, but I started it and tweeted that. And then it got like a weird amount of attention, which was strange because Queer Kevin wasn't that big. They still aren't. They should be. They're amazing. But I think the next thing I tweeted was like about how when I was in high school it was either AP Chem or AP Bio, and this girl, Jessica, who sat in front of me, always wore this Avenged Sevenfold hoodie, and I wasn't dating my boyfriend at the time. We were on and off, and we were in an off period, and I was like, oh, this girl's so hot, but I didn't know if anybody else like was bisexual. Like I didn't know because I'm from North Carolina and I didn't know any gay people. I'm non-binary. I didn't know any non-binary people or trans people. So I was just like crushing on this girl that wore this Avenged Sevenfold hoodie every single day in like AP Bio. And one day I was like, okay, I'm going to listen to every Avenged Sevenfold song ever. I'm going to get really acclimated with this band, and then I'm going to talk to her. Mm-hmm. And so I did that, and then I was like, yeah, Avenged Sevenfold, love that band. Said some shit. And she was like, oh, this is my boyfriend's hoodie.
Oh, man.
So I tweeted about that experience, 7 years after the fact, whatever it was. And that one got, hundreds of thousands of likes on it, and
Jesus.
like the followers just ended up pouring in. And so I just, every day I'd tweet like Steely Dan fucks, Black Sabbath fucks, like whatever, and it would just, all of them would go somewhere. And then I started realizing, like, okay, I'm giving my platform, now that I have a platform, I'm giving it to bands that don't really need it. How can I, take that back and start using it for good? And I started tweeting about DIY bands, and here we are.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great way to, flip that up. I think that's like a really commendable thing to do.
You should do. Thank you. I don't think I need like a commendation, but I appreciate it. But yeah, like if you have a platform and you're only using it to further other people with big platforms, audience, then like, what are you doing?
I feel like people do that though. I mean, they because they are at a point where they're not like really big, but they're big enough to where really big, artists or whatever see them, and so they kind of use their platform to like pander, I guess, to like, I mean, you could call it clout chasing, but I feel like it's just like kind of rare for somebody to like reach downwards. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
I do. I think that's true, and I think that's how the cool stay cool. And some cool things shouldn't be cool at all. Yeah. And a lot of things that haven't, been considered cool deserve that applause. So. I don't know. I think it's the right thing to do, and hopefully I think that I honestly, I don't want to say like I misused the platform, but I don't think I really had that mindset until I got clean, where I was just like, okay, like let's really start actively thinking before I post on the internet, because it does influence people. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize that I had that sort of power, but there is a power structure involved in Twitter when you have a certain amount of followers, and you can really easily misuse that without realizing that you do. And I think that I kind of slipped into that. I don't want to call it clout chasing, but I feel like I kind of did. I was like, oh, this cool thing, like I'm going to tweet about it. Hopefully they notice me. Like, I think that's a natural thing that people do. Mm-hmm. But when I got clean, luckily I realized like, I don't need to do that. I can just enjoy the things that I enjoy without, having to, I don't know, construct this identity around this Twitter profile. So luckily I like snapped out of that when I got clean, and I think I changed the direction of that account. But yeah.
Is it retired now?
No, I still use it, but mostly what I do now is I make a playlist of like about 100 songs, some things that I have always loved, some things that are newer that I'm listening to, albums that just came out. And then I also, I create like a collaborative playlist. So I tweet that before I remake the playlist every month. And I'm like, hey, like here is a collaborative playlist. You can add up to 2 songs that you want me to listen to, and I'll listen to the whole thing. And so anybody that follows that playlist or, my Twitter account can add whatever they want me to listen to. It can be their own band. It can be a band from the 60s. It can be an album that just came out that they really are passionate about, that they want me to hear. And I'll listen to that whole thing, and I'll take like half of the stuff that will go into the playlist from that collaborative playlist. And then the rest of it will be things that are kind of catching my ear for myself. And I remake that about every month. I try to make it every month. So I use This Band Fucks for that. And then anytime I see a band that I really enjoy put something out, I'll retweet it on that. I'll tweet about whatever I'm listening to.
Cool. Well, I like the sound of that. Can you talk about what you're doing now musically then? Like with the new Absinthe Father record and the Stud Count and Drill Sergeant and all that?
Father, we are waiting. Everything that I've recorded so far has been by myself, probably pretty poorly. I hate to say that, but it is. But in my kitchen or my basement, and it's all been me. And now we're gonna do a full band recording. I am trying to figure out when we're gonna do it, but I feel like I can probably talk about it. Joe doesn't. I don't think he cares, but it'll come out on Don Giovanni, which I'm really excited about. And I'm recording it with my friend Corey, who has done the New Modern Color record, Soft Blue Shimmer, like a band that I love. And he's also happens to be in one of my favorite bands, Gleamer. So I'm really excited to do that.
Are you like nervous at all about switching from solo recordings to like studio with a band recordings?
No, I'm really excited. I'm really ready for it. And I think it's the direction that I need to take. And the people that are playing on the record just played with me on my last tour. So before COVID happened, we were actually in LA when we had to cancel the rest of our tour, and I had to drive all the way back to Philly.
Jeez.
But I took this band called Roseville, who are an amazing band. And they not only played every night for their own band, they also were my backing band for the tour, and they're going to play on the record. So I'm really, really excited about that. And since we've already played together for a tour, they know my vision. They know the feeling that I'm trying to emit when I play. I think they really understand what I want to do with it. So I'm really not too worried about it. And I trust Corey 100%. He's the only person I could think of recording with.
So is that gonna like come out next year or 2022 or?
I honestly don't know. We were trying to get it done like ASAP, but then this all happened. So I'm not totally sure what the timeline is. I'm taking a social distance walk with Joe, my label head, this week sometime, I think probably Wednesday or Thursday. We're going to talk about what to do, like what the plan is. And then I got to reschedule my time with Corey, make sure that Morgan, Jake, and Jack are free, and go from there. So probably at the earliest next year. I'm honestly not that stressed about it. I want it to be as good as it possibly can be. And if it takes a little bit longer, then I'm fine with it. For
sure. Well, let's talk about Stud Count and Drill Sergeant then.
Yeah. It's so fun. So yeah, I play bass in a band called Stud Count and a band called Drill Sergeant. Stud Count is, we call it power pop. I don't really know what it is. It kind of bridges power pop and hardcore and punk all together. We wanted to make a Wipers worship band because all of us love Wipers, in the vein of like Spiritual Cramp and bands like that. But I think I should send you the promo. Actually, we finished our promo. I think I did actually.
Yeah, you did.
Okay, cool. But yeah, I feel like that one's more like Charlie Bliss, Angel Dust, kind of that realm, which I'm excited about. So we're looking for a label to put that promo out, and we already have another record written, so excited about that.
And that's all Philly people in that band, or?
Say again?
Is that Philly people in that band?
Yeah, all Philly people. Matt and Norel, they're married. They live like around the corner from me. And then Brett, he lives in South Philly, so.
Word. And yeah, Drill Sergeant, the same. Did you say
Drill
that's
Sergeant,
the same
band? Same people, minus Norel, and then add this guy he actually lives in Tennessee. He lives in like Nashville or Murfreesboro, maybe. I can't remember which one. But so we've never even had a practice, which is funny. But he plays guitar in it, and then I play bass. Matthew also plays guitar and fronts. Or I don't know if he's actually going to play guitar. We're trying to figure it out. And then Brett plays drums. But we already recorded our demo or an EP, and we put that out on Bandcamp. And I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it, but we just got picked up. We signed a label like 3 days ago. So.
Hell yeah, that rules.
Yeah, excited about that. We have a full length already written. I think they're doing some 7 inches for us and some tapes as well for that demo. So I'm really excited about that. And then I'm in this like more shoegazy project called Doug, which is just me and Brett. Brett and I just want to be in every band together. And his roommate, his name is Tom. We're all doing a project, which I'm excited about that too. Are
you planning any tours for next year with any of these projects, or is it still just kind of like wait and see?
I don't know what's going to happen. I don't think anybody does. So I would rather just wait and see what the CDC and what the people that are way smarter than me say is safe before I even try to do anything like that.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, it is weird seeing bands, announcing tours for the end of the year, for the fall or whatever.
I understand wanting to be hopeful, But I don't know. I think that even if tours do happen and people say, yeah, it's safe to go, I probably won't feel comfortable going because I have people that I care about who are at risk. And if I contract COVID, I don't want them to get sick. I mean, I don't want to get sick either. So yeah, I would just rather hold off.
How about like live streaming? Are you doing any live stream performances?
No, I did a couple in the beginning of quarantine, but honestly, I can't. I don't like it. It stresses me out.
I don't like it either.
It feels like it's, and I mean, all shows are obviously a performance, but those performances to me, the live streams feel like an active display, and it doesn't. I like to interact with people.
Yeah.
It's the only way that because I have anxiety pretty bad. Obviously I don't use drugs anymore, so I can't numb that anxious feeling. And one thing that I learned how to do to cope with it, like a healthy coping mechanism, was, sit at the merch table and wait for people to come talk to me and then have a conversation. And then my anxiety kind of like alleviates. And you can't do that on a live stream. You can't talk to people. You're talking to a blank phone and then waiting for a comment to pop up maybe a couple seconds later. I don't know. It's just weird.
Yeah, no, that's real. I, though, personally would like to stream some video games, I think. I would rather stream a video game than play a song.
Feel that very hard, even though I don't play video games. I could do like The Sims or like Roller Coaster Tycoon, maybe.
I think people would probably watch that.
But my Roller Coaster Tycoon game would be like, this is so morbid, but I would like wait till they get on the track and then I'd pause it and then I'd remove the track, so then when you press play again, they go zoom.
Hell yes, dude, that rocks. Yeah, I mean, I would do the classic thing in The Sims where you like put them in the pool and take out the ladder, or like fill up a room with fireplaces and stick some trash cans there.
Yes, or in the newer games, you could build like 4 walls around the person, and they go crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of like where we are now.
That is how I feel.
Hey, well, thanks for doing this with me, Haley. This has been fun.
So much, yeah, it's nice. I feel like we don't get to talk as much as we should, so I appreciate the conversation.
Yeah, even like before this, I feel like we don't really see each other that often, despite living in the same city.
No, I feel like we always tried to line things up, but it just never worked out with schedules. So
yeah,
offer stands if you want to come sit on my porch and social distance hang.
Dude, for sure. I'll definitely hit you up about that, and I also gotta send you a picture of the corduroy jacket that I'm looking for.
I will probably find one for you within like 24 hours.
Hell yeah.